Hello and welcome. It is the 22nd day of June 2019. My name is Derek. All bets, trades of the like with that is within each's own risk and their own reward. Okay, Bitcoin is just in a phenomenal tear. Let's take a look at the 1 minute term time frame and move it all the way up from 1.5 all the way to the monthly. And the 1 minute does seem as if it's breaking out. I love this setup as it plays out. You've had this up run, and we have this correction, goes to the 18 lows, comes back, tries to resume this amazing trend, but no, we have this green candle. It comes back down to matching low. It appears above, but it's a matching low. Then a very good move to the 18 highs, but it's not there quick. Just a fast move that gets rejected quickly. And we're looking good right now, and we're going to see why. But we have this come back in here to this level, to this low, as I mentioned. Now, this is an interesting spot back in here, because at this time frame we have the breakdown on the red candle, which pauses for one, and then even a little bit of a pause for the next one, but a bullish pause, which obviously was the case. Now, in a situation like this, what happens is, because you've established this level of support, this is a statement that you're breaking it for a key leg lower, and by no means, this is just a pierce below. And you think, okay, it could go down here more, no pause. Okay, you're expecting there's a decent chance. But it's not uncommon yet when you have a situation like this to meet up within the 18 and the previous key levels of support as resistance. So this green candle could have very easily been that of a bearish sentiment, but no, it wasn't. And it followed through with 5 periods staying within this 18 average and supporting an area on a bearish level that should have been resistance. And there's your statement in resuming the trend, because this high occurred at 25 minutes after 20, and this breakout occurred 44 minutes after. So it was a 19 period correctionary move. And then it got above it with another follow through, some correcting, and really grinding its way higher, having right now in this period its first real correction from a break of this support. And what do you look for? Well, the first is the 18, but really what it comes down to is holding this key area. What does this mean if we break higher? Because this is levels like 10,955. We're not at all-time highs, but we're at highs not seen in close to a year. And price action above 11,000 was really just like a 2 month thing. It was like December and January of like 2017 and 2018. We'll get to that when we go to the longer term time frame. But in a situation like this, where would I expect the next leg higher to be? And I know this was like a monstrous one. I'm not talking about that, but just a conservative, regular move. I would look at something like, hey, maybe this is an area where I can go to the 11,000 mark. Okay, well, let's just see what this could mean on other time frames. How does this work on the 5? Well, we had a lot of down action, and it's had a very good move. We've had one good leg higher. The first one, it was a very good leg higher, which corrected via that of time as it went sideways to the 18, and such a good one. It didn't even really lose any rate of ascent during that time frame. That's how good of a breakout it was from that point. And then another good leg higher, and from this point, again, like we see a little bit here. So that small move to 11,000 would really just be starting to test this upper previous area that it had, in that of between 11,000 and 11,150. So I don't need this line in anymore, as I will continue to work my way amongst other time frames. 15-minute term, and amongst it, this is a long sideways consolidation now, and it's really everything in here. So support has been very much established. 3 different hits of it. We got 1, 2, and really all of this for 3. Resistance, we kind of got 4. And it's a range resistance level, which is in this little range in here. Because we got this one, we got this little area, we got this failed breakout here, and we got this comeback rally attempt, and that's where it came up quickly to again right now. So it's one of those, okay, let's break the range size differential. So let's do that same thing we did on the 1 minute and figure out, well, where would the direction of this range go? Now on the downside, if it's going to go one way is Fibonacci, and well, Fibonacci, you know what, there's just so many periods. I'm going to try to calculate it within the hourly or 4 hour when I got better data, because it's just been continuously up. I mean, how do I explain this? I mean, just grinding its way continuously higher here. sideways range. And like I say, it's got to break the sideways range from one side or another. When it does, it's oftentimes going to have a big move. And then this is two moves. There was two things that happened from here to here. Number one was this. Number two was this. For it broke a rate of ascent, an uptrend line. And this is almost a time where I'm forced to use paint. I'm not going to do it with this. I'm probably going to have to use it on the 4-hour time frame. But what I want to do is I want to draw a trend line connecting this because that's in play now. Now this trend line broke. Because the whole point of what I'm trying to say is if you break an uptrend line to the upside, that can be a fantastic move. And that's exactly what happened on the second part of this at the half time, right in here. It had a huge, huge rate of ascent increase. And here we have that little bit of sideways action that's coming in. And so as far as where we're going to go on a key leg low higher, I mean, a lot of them have been great. So you have to give the benefit of the doubt for a line like this that it could break somewhere like around somewhere close to 12,000. And 12,000 is a significant, no, well, might be. Don't think it is that significant. But it isn't, there's so many different levels where every number you could say is significant from one indicator to the next. 4-hour term time frame. Okay, I'm just thinking. Well, overall, when you look at how, again, the whole sideways range, this was your correctionary phase, and that was a long duration of time. Pretty much entered it in the second week of May, leaving it after in a little over a month of sideways consolidation, and there's a convincing move. And I don't want to do remove all drawing tools because I got that line that I draw, and it's just like 12,000. I could just memorize it, but I'm just going to get rid of this. And I'm going to take a screenshot image and take a look at trend line analysis here as well. So I'm going to do something like this. Which trend lines do I? Any other? I guess the daily. Yeah, this will work. Okay, let's bring up paint. So what I did is I pushed the print screen button, which means I got everything on my computer captured. And here's my paint image. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a line. What color do I want? I guess just black will be fine. So the one that broke was, let me just take a look at this. Well, this one here. This is the one that I was looking at. Now, what was the other one that? Uh, hmm. Just trying to think of the other one that I had that I knew that I showed before. I guess it would be this one. Yeah, something like that. But that's one that I see is in play. There's also another one I'm looking at like this. I think this is a primary trend that's in key focus. And what I like to do when I do this is like I gotta do a matching one. Where does this work on support now? So I got the exact rate of ascent, and I can just move it now. And to me, we got that. And what I can do is I can zoom in on this. So I'm going to push this. It's going to be a bit bigger. Wow, that's a lot bigger. And when looking at this, yeah, getting over 12,000 seems uh, systematic. I don't know another way of putting it, but let's go on and continue on within the multiple time frame analyses. Yeah, this is the one that I wanted. I don't have to drop it. You can see breaking this in here, how it's supporting that level. And I like how you got this, all this sideways action. I like how it's looking like it's breaking out. I mean, we could have another resistance test and pull back, but it does seem as if things are ready to go. Now, this is very interesting here when we look at the single hour. So that trend line that I mentioned that broke, like one like that. Okay, look at the size of these candles now after that fact. And of course, there we can see the support within it. So from this high, you come down, you break below, and there's your resistance. There's a lot of grinding of support. This is the first time since this decline in here that it's even attempted to not only get to the 18 average of highs, but even break above. And it's doing that second one, it's attempting to break above. And when we look at this, again, an interesting situation if this is able to be able to get going. This has been just an incredible run. Viewing such via that of the four, I mean, 10,900 right now. It was like 10,800 just a while ago. I mean, I might be having to look at my portfolio and thinking, okay, maybe some altcoins are going down because what it seems is when Bitcoin's been going up lately, altcoins are going down against BTC or just not going up or barely going up against the dollar. The daily time frame has been several days above the 18th since this day here. Well, there's only one red candle down day. One, two, three, four in a row. Then before that, we had one, two, three, four, five, six. So 10 of the last 11 closing days were up, and right now we're up right now so far 1.2% so far. We're only 2 hours, 1 hour, 9 o'clock p.m. Yeah, 1 hour into the session. So it's brand new as far as that is concerned. Nothing yet to say that this rally is coming to a halt. On the weekly chart, let's just get Bitstamp. On the weekly chart, what we got in here is had this resistance at 82. Now these numbers here are different lines that I drew in from before. Don't remember why I drew them in, but I did. With that being said, let's remove them. What is bearish about this long-term chart? I'm just wondering what's bearish about it. Every correction that it has had has been successful. For when it spends a decent amount of time below the 18, well, it came back to where it came from here. And since that point, how much below 18 action was there? Oh, it pierced below here. And then nothing from here to the top even really got below the 18 lows, let alone holding and staying above it. So you had a shot to hold and stay above the 18 lows here. See, had it not resisted it here, say it got above the 18 at this point, then maybe there would have been another leg higher. But that didn't happen, of course. And yet another extended period below the 18, not coming back to where we came from, which was 1,000, which doesn't have to, especially when you have a kick-ass move, which is what happened. And as I was mentioning, I mean, this was just iconic how markets were moving like it was back at this point in here. And it was almost like this. It's like this here. The only difference is this was like completely flat within this extremely micro volatile move. This was extremely in a consensus uptrend in a not so volatile period. And I was complaining. I was talking how bad, how shitty the volatility was in here. And even in here, it's just the markets were just, oh my goodness. If you're trading like me, you're like, oh, an 8% move, that's all you can get. It's not like markets are just aren't moving. At least as a day trading kind of ideology. But it all changed on the 1st of April with one good green candle up, three sideways moves, then four amazing moves up, a sideways, the only real good down move it's had since, well, really since January here, this one in here. And then the follow through to get it back, and now a complete, like, pretty much well, what's the difference in percentage? This was 17 and a half. Right now we're working on 17, 20.66. Okay. So we got a bit better of a gain this period than last. It's a Saturday. The market will close the week in a little under 23 hours now. It'll close at Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. So it's going to be a good week again. Overextended, but it's going to remain overextended until it's not. The buyers are in full control of the market. The path of least resistance is higher, and it will be until it's not. So as far as the levels for where it can go to, this is why I call it a wild card. Right now, all it's done is had a satisfactory move as far as its work in resuming and reverting the uptrend to an uptrend. All of this stuff about these, when I drew all this resistance, all these lines that gotta get over, it's done. It's done because this before was the key high it had to get over. Well, it congested at that level much later, but it's done that. Now it's showing signs of the big retracement. Fibonacci from this high to this low, 9,800 is 61.8%. So it's pretty much back in bullish territory as it is, but it's an early light bullish territory where it can lose it in a flash because, well, it's got to pretty much stay above 9,800 to keep that bullish behavior in place. But you could have an okay move, which is a noticeable lower high. That could be where the top is. Then we have an area of matching high, and it could be, and this is, I'm talking about this individual move. And to further the wild card, if, I mean, each time you go up further, the volatility, the intensity is only going to continue to rise. And then the larger the correction, the pullback that's going to come thereafter is going to be just that each time larger. So getting to this area here, and there's going to be a lot of FOMO and all that stuff going through the wire, and it's just going to start all this type of retalk, and people have been ignoring it for this whole time. It's like, oh, Bitcoin doesn't exist, not like everything, because like pretty much ever since for over a year now. But the talk is going to be back, and I've even seen it myself because one of the reasons why I'm doing too many videos on this channel is because I don't have enough quote unquote people to help as far as trading and investing and market trading and all that stuff. There's a couple people, three people. But when you're talking about direct family, the my neighbor from the 1980s and 1990s, yeah, and one of my friends from, well, pretty much this millennium. That's really about it at this time. I have seen so many people have one story. I'm not even going to go over it, so bad, but a lot of it was people talking to me when in here. Oh, I got to get into cryptos, and one person phoned me up and mentioned Ripple, and I was saying, he mentioned Ripple on the strong sell day Ripple, and I told him, don't buy that, don't buy that, don't buy that, all that stuff. It's gonna go down and everything. But it's all been ignoring. Now that it's going down, it's like, oh, do I want? I mean, it's like they get scared, and really, everything's an opposite play to how they should be. Meaning, and the point in here where you're considering getting in is a spot where you should wait for a pullback. Now, as an investor, how would one act on that? Well, one way is just it's risk reward management, and you wait and you take the chance. The reward is you don't buy high and you get a cheaper price, which would have been the case. The risk is it just keeps going higher and you miss out. But mathematically, if you do it at these high points, if you're wrong and say it were to have made a move up in here, Still not a bad chance it would have came back here anyway and maybe come down to 10,000 from like 43 or down to like 14,000. That's another reason why it's such a difficult thing in buying on the way up. Now, of course, if you're an owner of Bitcoin, this was time to be selling, of course. Of course, not the whole thing, unless you want to take a risk reward gamble that, of course, would have worked. But it's a time to sell, take profits, use your profits, hold maybe dollars to buy back when it goes lower if you wish. But again, if you're one of those people waiting on the fence when prices were in here, even though all of this happened, it was still a magnificent time to get in because either this happened or it didn't happen. And I talked so long back in the day about two things, and two back in the days. One, definitely starting around in here, but pretty much in this area here, about Bitcoin prices going to $3,000. And for this whole time, May, all of June, all of July, all of August, all of September, and all of October, I was warning that it is very much possible and even probable. We've seen how this descending triangle came in, that it was going to happen. Now, it kind of did. It was a pierce above, but it did what I thought it was going to do and have that decent leg lower. And I talked about that over and over and over again. And then, of course, here we go. So now the second one. I got to rethink of what that was again. And after thinking for about, what took about 65, 70 seconds of me just pausing and just thinking, what was it? And it's a failed breakdown. Because what I was talking about for quite some time was, even before it happened, I was even thinking about, even in here, I was saying, watch out for the short term one, which would have been like this. Of course, that didn't happen. It was a much bigger one, which is one of the things I'm a student on or a component on is the bigger the move, the bigger the bigger the failed move, the bigger the fast move. If there's going to be one, a small fast move is a or a small failed move should be a small fast move. A big failed move should be a big fast move. And this was what I talked about for so long. I mentioned, and let me just make it so it's easier to see because I don't need. Yeah, let's put the line because this was monster support there at around 6,000. So within a failed move, what I need to see is it break a key level and then have a good leg lower. And holy shit, did it ever have a really good one. And then you're going to build a box, and did it ever take a long time to complete it? Especially, again, with all of this amazing action that happened there. So the next stage is for it to consolidate in the area where it came from. And this did it in an interesting way because it kind of didn't. It kind of upgraded what I was expecting to do. This is your consolidation period. But it did it higher than it was supposed to. It was supposed to kind of do it in here, which really made it an interesting thing. So therefore, the consolidation period for where we came from is in here. See, that's my mistake, I guess, for not giving the benefit of the doubt that it couldn't do more than just consolidate in this such long area. But this is low volatility consolidation. If it's going to need high volatility, now in this one here, it technically came back to this line, but it kind of didn't. It was a flash move. But 6,600 or so, it did come to this resistance if you look at other charts. But this consolidation period is breaking out. So the next stage after it comes back to where it consolidates is it has its fast move. That's it. And that's what I see here in the break of this resistance on this particular week is that's what it's having. So when I'm looking at the layers to where it could go, as I mentioned, you got the lower high. This is the minimum move I'm looking for a failed move. Is a significantly break, a significant lower high pierce below 20,000, which would be around 14, 15,000. And then you got the matching high, a little bit above it, whatever area, 18, 20, 23, 24, 25,000 it can go to. But if it gets to this point, as I've been mentioning, we're in the big haywire OMG big situations that this thing can go 5, 6, 7 straight days up to 48 or $60,000. I might be unlikely, or 60,000, even 48,000 might be majorly overstretching it. But the ideology and in history, you're going to see it all the time. I'm just going by what I have seen so many times, looking at other situations when markets get way overextended, break major key levels, that the size of the moves, the size of the volumes just becomes monstrous. And that's what I would be expecting it if it's not going to be resisting every time we get to these key levels. And when it does, is it able to do stuff like maybe it comes up to 14 and then it does something like this for, say, 4 weeks? And then, of course, we're gonna all be talking about, oh, 14, 8,000 is like a big level. It's like been hit 2 or 3 times or whatever, I might say in the future. And then it breaks out, okay, watch out, guys, go ahead and go to 20. So, how the story goes to get there? Well, it's been convincing, and that's really been it for that so far on the monthly chart. Like I get no resistance, and very solid breakout above the 18 average of highs. And thus, it's you almost have to at some point say, okay, this thing is going. And whenever you have a situation like that, where you have a great move, that's a terrible line where I wanted to do it. What I'm trying to do is go like this. Great move. And again, like I mentioned, you did not come back to where you came from because you mainly corrected that through. Uh, I can't say price or time, both. I mean, there was a little bit of price in here, some time, some price, and some time. And the price moves weren't that big. So overall, it's like, and if it's just this is a pure time correction, but it had this one leg lower. And of course, amongst it dipped below the 18. But if it, I mean, this is almost like a solid, like an amazing jailbreak. You get this one person that's got an amazing plan, and I mean, it's spectacular. And they get out and they're gone, and when they're off, it's a fast move. And this is why when people ask me about my target levels and the when is like, I mean, I'm not even. I'll give you my range, but it's not gonna help you much. Well, there's to me two key levels, and we'll see what happens on it, but I think we got a good chance of coming up somewhere around here, $350,000. It's something that could easily happen like in 2026, although that would take a long time. And most certainly wouldn't be that it wouldn't certainly wouldn't be too slow if it was September of 22 or over 3 years from now. Now it need a lot of movement, some bear markets on the weekly time frame here and there are going to have to occur on the way from then to now, from now to then. So as far as getting those levels, yeah, I guess you can say like 23, 24. So that would be about 5 times 12, up to about probably within the next 60, 70 months. We should see the level. So how early could it get there? Well, again, when these things get haywire shit crazy, like where are we talking right here? 4, 3, 4. Could it do it in 3, 4, 5? I mean, mathematically, I mean, it might be such a too big of a stretch to do this in 5, but 10 or 12 isn't that out of range for a realistic level for how long it could take. And on the way there, I'm expecting 60,000 to be resistance. And when I say resistance, that means it would be just that. It will go there and it will either go down or sideways for a bit. Thus, if that's the case, that could make a case for why it's going to take it's going to be in the 2020s sometime when we have much higher prices fall further higher than that. But when I talk about resistance at this level and how it could, if it does make a quick move to 6 figures and in particular around 300 plus thousand, which is basically my target, 300 plus thousand. If there's no resistance at 60, in a spot where it's heavily supposed to. Oh, wow. Then 300,000 could be like 50 days, 60 days, 20 days even. I mean, it could be fast. It could easily be one period from this point of view here as a massively large green candle. But when you get to key tops, that usually happens again with outstanding volume and outstanding green candle moves up. Holy shit, did I take a long time on this? 30 minutes. Have yourself a great day. Bye bye.